pregnancy. U.S. birth rates have now fallen to the lowest point in American history, with Gen Z having over 50% fewer kids than the 1950s.
Even if there was, people were getting paid way less than, and yes, the rent and stuff was cheaper, but that was cost of living, guys. Like, I don't think that money issues were ever the reason why. The decline is because women hate men, and men are just sick of women attitudes. I mean, because like the women nowadays, all they do is rant and rave over men not being good enough. And after a while, maybe men just like gave up, you know? People don't like each other. That's what I really think the number one issue is with this. Secondly, after what just happened with the FBI persecuting that company for paying all those hate groups to still spew all that hate, it really makes me think, okay, so we don't know how many shell companies are like this that are pretending to be one thing but are actually feeding the fire. And another thing is this abortion. I've seen plenty of, and I think there's two kind, and I only know that because of these commercials. Then I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember ever seeing a Plan B type of commercial when I was a kid. I don't know if they had it then, but still, I don't. They're pushing this propaganda on us. And people over time going to start believing this. And people are going to start, thinking like, okay, it's okay to abort my baby. Like I can go around, be promiscuous. If you promote promiscuity, which is another thing I feel like is being promoted, you're going around and you're sleeping with all these men, chances are you're gonna get on the birth control because they push birth control on you. They don't care if you're married, how young, how old you are, they push it on you. I know this from personal experience. And they almost make you feel like you need to get it. Like you have to get it. And I didn't like that feeling, but I was so young that I just said, okay. And it's wrong. Another thing that is at play is parabens. Parabens and certain things that we women have been using to wash our hair with, wash our bodies with, have been toxic to our reproductive system. It goes up into your cervix, it destroys whatever it destroys in there and leads to infertility. A lot of women that I grew up with are infertile. They cannot have children. I also know of a lot of stillborn babies. I also had several friends whose baby was born and then within a few hours passed away. And it's the sad stuff, but it makes you think like, what is happening? Because all these women of my friends that this happened to were healthy and in good shape. They didn't eat bad. They weren't drinking or drugging. I don't understand what happened. Yeah, this is not normal. Like, no, seriously, this is not normal because all of these women were in their 20s, young, healthy women. I really believe that this soap has a play at that. Yes, something as simple as an ingredient in soap. And shampoos, y'all. No, not just soap, shampoos. Apparently, lotions. These can all be factors. But it also could be that they put fluoride in our water because there's not proper testing on that. So many different things we're eating. Because now, if you notice, the food we saying on there, no MSG, no GMO, gluten free. How long is this list getting, y'all? Like, literally, I went and got some daggone chips at the Walmart, and at the bottom it had no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have been their test dummies for so many years, and it's sickening. And I do believe that those play a factor in this. It's not necessarily that these women don't want kids. If money plays a role in it, I believe it's under 10%.
Millennials don't want kids. So the birth rate, the fertility rate in the U.S. has been going down for years. It's now at a historic low. And what's really interesting when you get into the Pew Research underneath it is the reason people are not having kids has changed. So put up this graphic here and I'll talk you through it. People over the age of 50 who have not had children, they say, look, it just didn't happen. Basically, I wanted to, but it was bad luck. Young people today say, I'm not even out here trying. I, period, full stop, don't want children. That
is a big shift.
That is a big change. There's a bunch of reasons. A portion of them cite the cost.
The cost of childcare is bananas.
It's bananas.
School is just it's
crazy.
Unreal.
A portion of them cite worries about the state of the world, climate change, and then 20% say, I just don't like kids.
And these are all fair reasons. I don't know about not liking kids.
The state of the world and climate change, meaning they don't want to add to our population because of the pressures.
Or they're just worried that the quality of life is getting worse and worse.
But you know that a lot of these mainstream medias, they have to go with what they're allowed to. And this was on CBS. They're talking about some child care. And then you hear about all this fraud about these child cares that don't even actually have kids in them. Well, let's start actually using that money to utilize for child care. There is programs out there that can help. I really believe it's men versus women. They just don't like each other. And with all this propaganda being paid to get pushed, if you're constantly being told something over time, you start to believe it. Men suck. Women are bitches. These folks, they used to get married immediately. 17, 18, 19 years old back in the day. Had families. All Gen Z is under 30. Maybe they want to have kids later. Like there's people that have whole channels dedicated to hate on men and they would never get married. And now they're getting married. Women are having an issue with that because they're like, oh, heck no. Like it's like gate kept now. Like you can't get married. You always said you hated men. But that's the thing. They're young. They're naive. And I think because of the social media that they grew up in, their maturity is taking a little bit longer. I don't want no kids. Like in their mind, they're still a kid themselves. Especially because they're the generation that wants nothing to do with older people. We're so old. We're just old. So they probably just don't want kids now, but yes, they will. Because you go right from out of high school into college and you're just supposed to know off the back what you want to do for the rest of your life. Like, I'm still a baby. That's why I can't rent a car until I'm 25 because my mind is still growing. But it doesn't matter because society says that I'm an adult. The American dream is with the white picket fence and the family, not you standing there alone and miserable.
What if I told you that the most unethical thing you could do is have children? Well, maybe not, but there is a philosophical justification for why our generation are increasingly choosing not to have kids. And the philosophical theory is called antinatalism, or the idea that it's inherently unethical to have kids. The reasoning behind this theory is pretty simple. When you're in the womb, you cannot consent to being born, and you cannot consent to being brought into a world especially that is now facing, genocide, climate change, discrimination. You can't choose the family you're born into, you can't choose the body you're born into, you can't choose the socio-economic issues that you might face just through the family that you were born into and the place you were born into. You can't choose any of that. 99% of your struggles in your life are going to be determined by how and where and when you were born, and your parents decide all of that for you.
And now the government don't even got to push it because they doing it for us right here with TikTok. They just get to put on whatever they feel and push their narrative. And then now you got people in the comments like, you know what, I always felt this way and now it's justified.
Gen Z is not trying to have kids. And I don't blame them because I ain't trying to have them little shits either. But the government is shaking in their boots because we don't want children. Our grandparents and parents are shaking in their boots because we don't want children. They keep asking why. I'm going to tell you. Probably because we can't afford to. Y'all do know the cost of living went up 68%, but our wages only went up 18%. Y'all do know that, right? We don't even know if we're going to have a suitable earth to raise our kids in the next 40 years, and you want me to bring a child into this world. And I'm not saying all of Gen Z, because some of y'all took the risk. Me, personally, and the vast majority of the people I know, they're not even thinking about it. Not even trying to consider it. How are we going to have children if we can't even afford ourselves? I know people that's so backed up on student loans, they just don't want to pay for that shit no more. And since the government is getting so upset about it, my honest take is the government only wants us to have children so we can go back and ask the government for help. The help that they're not even going to give us. The help that they're going to claim that they don't have. But they had billions of dollars to fund the war in Israel, though. They had billions of dollars to bring migrants across country. But our healthcare system and our school system is still fucked. Gen Z is the most unhinged, most honest, most I don't give a fuck generation there is. So if you think Gen Z is gonna fall for we need to have kids to better our population, you're smoking because it's not happening. Everybody keep asking us what we gonna do when we get older. Who knows? Who knows if we're even gonna get older? I might just off myself before I even get that old, to be honest with you. And if I don't have kids, my money will take care of me. That's the least it can do. I hope it's gonna be worth anything by the time I get that old. I actually hope it's just gonna be Earth by the time I get that old because, god damn.
You see what I'm saying? Like, she's so young-minded, because what they talk so much about not wanting to hear about us old people, but now they're fearing to get old themselves. At these troubling times, it is no uncertainty of tomorrow, let alone, with raising kids in a time like this. I get that too, but the thing is that always been the case. The world always been like that. There's always been wars and rumors of wars. There's always been, issues going on where you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And in reality, even if it's a great time, like in the 80s in America, then you could feel like it's going to be the most positive outcome. But even still, traumatic trauma happens as it did in the 80s. So things can, even when you're not expecting it, could still happen. We don't know what tomorrow holds. When you have people like this pushing their propaganda for the government, you see she's blaming the government for panicking about us not having kids. No, honey, the government lies to us. The government don't want us to have no kids, boo. They don't want us to own nothing. They don't want us to be in control of nothing. And if we don't own anything, how we going to properly take care of these kids? They don't want kids, babe. No, I'm sorry to tell you that, but I know that the generation of where you're growing up in is lying to you constantly and keep hearing the same thing over and over and over again. You're gonna believe it. You gotta be strong-willed and strong-minded and think for yourself. You don't always have to care about what everybody around you thinks and likes just so that they can like you. Who cares about these folks? They don't care about you. They don't go home and pay your bills for you. They don't clean up your house for you. They don't make sure that you ate. So who cares? Who are these people to you? For you to care so much about if they like you or not. Think for yourself. And first of all, the Bill Gates, all them, they say it right in our face and they don't care. They want population control. They feel like we got too many folks out here. And then the thing is we got hella empty land in America, but it can't be used now because they building data centers on that. Bill Gates and China owns most of the land in America. They don't want to give that shit out to us. No. Who the heck is we with our families and stuff? Push us to the big cities where they could surveil us on a constant, regular basis, control us, and want us to hate each other so that we don't procreate. And look, it's working. So y'all making the government so happy. This is the CIA's favoriteest generation, Gen Z. And that's all I have to say about that. If y'all made it to the end, thank you so much. Let me know how you feel on the issue. If you wanted kids or not. Or if you got older and decided later on that you wish you would have had kids. Let me know. I'm interested to know. All right? And y'all have a good rest of y'all day and God bless.